Hello, welcome to Epic Flail. In this video, we're going to be talking about my updated Bretonnia list. I did a show a few months ago now where I built a Bretonnia list live on the stream, and we talked about how it's going to play, what I like about it. It's changed a lot since then, so I wanted to do another video updating the list. So in this video, I'm going to go through my list in detail. We're going to talk about the different modules and synergies that exist in the list. I'm going to talk about how it's been playing on the tabletop. I'd love to know how your Bretonnia list building is going. If you're a Bretonnia player, let us know in the comments how you're getting on and finding the faction. I'm really enjoying playing them. I think they're great. I'm loving Old World. It's so good to get some Old World models on the table and play some games. While I've got your attention, please like and subscribe. We have lots of Old World content on the channel, as well as 40k content. We have live shows on a Monday, we have streams on a Thursday, and we are all frantically painting up Old World so we can get some stream games in, which is coming very soon. So do like and subscribe for lots more Old World content. But let's take a look at the list. Last time I did this, people were very upset with me using Old World Builder. But it's actually improved. I feel like it's got a lot better and it's completely fine for this sort of thing. So I'm going to stick with it. If you want to see my old video, you know, go back and have a look at that original Bretonnia list and you can compare how much it's come on. There are some fairly major differences really between the old list and this list. The old one, we were kind of shooting in the dark a little bit. We didn't really have a big infantry chunk. This one has, and there were more knights and stuff. But anyway, I'm going to get straight into this list, and maybe at the end I can kind of talk about the main things that came out of the old list and what it looked like. So this is the new improved list. I'm going to go through bang on 2,000 points. It's so satisfying to be able to make a list that is bang on the right number of points. That is an enjoyable element of Old World rather than 40k where you've got like points and stuff missing. Very satisfying. The first module that I'm going to talk about in this list, and something it kind of hinges on, are the Grail Knights and the Duke. Okay, before I get into that first module, I'll just give you a very quick rundown of what's in the list. I have a Duke who is tooled up, which we're going to talk about. He's 402 points, but man, is he a lot of fun to play with. I have a Prophetess, which is level 4 wizard, which is very, 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 very useful. You shouldn't leave home without a level 4 at 2,000 points. I have a Paladin who does a bunch of work and brings that all very, very, very important battle standard. I've got 5 mounted Knights of the Realm. I have 12 Peasant Bowmen, skirmish formation, 12 more Peasant Bowmen, skirmish formation, 6 mounted Knights, 32 men at arms with all the fun, 2 units of Pegasus Knights, and 6 Grail Knights. So overall, how does this list play on the table and what is it trying to do? This list plays quite aggressively on the table, as you can imagine. You always want to kneel and pray first turn to get the 6 up ward or 5 up ward if it's over strength 5 or over. That feels really, really, really important. Yeah, sure, sometimes your opponent going first is a little bit annoying because you're going to get some war machines shot at you, but it is so important to have that ward save, because even when war machines are shooting at you, you're still often saving on a 5 or saving on 6, and then that's then going through to a 5 up ward save. So you get 2 chances at saving your models, and as you can imagine, a Bretonnian army, those models are very valuable. You've only got small units of knights really, so you really feel a loss. If something shoots and kills a couple of knights in a unit, you feel that loss. So having that ward save is really, really, really good. And also, like, war machines are just quite hit and miss in this edition. They're not absolutely horrendous. They're good. They can be very good, but they're not absolute game breaking. So going second to get that ward save, really, 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 really important. So this list always gives up that first turn. The way in which I use it is I have a sort of central big block of men at arms that hold the centre ground, and then I have one module which is the Duke and the Grail Knights. I have another module which is the Mounted Knights and Pegasus Knights, and then I have Peasant Bowmen and another unit of Knights. So I'm going to talk about like how these all synergize together and work, and like how, you know, how those modules all work together. But the first one I want to talk about, and like really main element of the list, is the Duke and the Grail Knights. So the Duke is good. The Duke is great. One thing I've observed about games of Old World is you do not want to be losing your general very easily. Like, you do not want this guy or girl dying easily because you're losing an extra 100 points. So not only are they getting the points of the character, but they're also getting another 100 for having killed your general. So you want to make this model as survivable as possible, but you also want to get some work out of it. So the optimum for me is a general that is going to go in and get in there and kill stuff, but also not die. Don't give up that 100 points. See if you can get the enemy general, if anything, and get that extra 100 points. So the Duke that I've gone for does cost a lot. It's 402 points. They're on a Royal Pegasus. So if you bought the Bretonnia box, you probably got this model, which is another reason why this list is really good, because it builds really well off the stuff that's come out and stuff that's in the core box. Give him heavy armor and a shield, obviously. Put him on a Royal Pegasus. But the bit that's great, that was like the Freddy's great. Heartwood Lance is pretty good at 50 points, plus 3 strength, minus 3 armor piercing. It's just super solid. Obviously, Lance is only kicking when the charge, but this guy, you want to go in and blow someone's head off and hopefully move on to the next thing. So, but this is really the item that I've been enjoying with this Duke. So they have a 3-up save normally, but the Gromril Great Helm takes it to a 2-up save and allows you to re-roll any natural roll of a 1 when making an armor save. So he's basically saving on 2s, re-rolling 1s, which is great. Just makes him really, really survivable. I also give him Gauntlet of the Duel, which means duels can't be refused. So if you do see an opportunity to go flying in and get an enemy general to get that extra 100 points, then that's really cool. You can try and drag him out. Yeah, of course, you know, they could always let the champion accept, blah, 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 but I'm going to come on to that in a second. There is a cool way around that. So the Duke basically hits like a truck, very difficult to kill, and is very mobile because he's on a Royal Pegasus, so can get around the table really easily, hits really hard. I've really been enjoying the Duke paired with the Grail Knights. So, Grail Knights are just great for Bretonians. They're really, really strong. I give the champion the Virtue of Knightly Temper, which, when it charged, it gets D3 extra attack and hatred, so it can reroll. So, really nice to have on that like main Grail champion that comes in hitting like a truck. The bit that the reason this pairs well with the Duke is if you do see an opportunity to kill an enemy general, excuse me, then you go in with the Grail Knights and you go in with the Duke. So I will have a central flank, a center of these men at arms, and then I'll pair the Duke with the Grail Knights to one side, either a left or a right flank. I'll put them very close to each other, and my aim is for these two to go absolutely hurtling in on the same unit. Logistically, it's very, very possible because of a lance formation, and the size of the Duke fits really nice into most stuff. Sometimes when you're trying to hit something with a lance and another lance, it can get quite clunky. So lances really want to be hitting alongside things like the Duke or the Pegasus Knights because of the maneuverability and where the bases can go. So I found that a unit of Grail Knights and the Duke together as a really, really strong hammer unit that can just go in and break most stuff. If you see an opportunity to get their general with the Duke, then the Grail Knights, all of them can issue challenges like champions. So what you basically do is you try and draw out the enemy general to either be fighting a Grail Knight or fighting the Duke. So your opponent might see that coming and, you know, put their general into a Grail Knight rather than the Duke, but that's okay. At least you've got something going on a general. You want to be trying to kill that general to get the extra 100 points. So these two go really, really well together as a module, and that's how I kind of think about this list. I kind of think about what works together, which bits of this list synergize well with each other, and works quite well in Old World because there's no scenario. You just try to kill the opponent. So once you start to identify modules that can work well together and formations and ways of applying a list, then these sort of things can, you know, be very effective game after game after game. It's not like 40k where a particular scenario might scupper your plans and completely change what you're trying to do. So I put the Duke with the Grail Knights. Really cool, strong combo. The next sort of like major combo is the Prophetess sitting in with these Grail Knights as well. So I put the Prophetess in there with the Grail Knights, and with her, I take a Sacrament of the Lady, which gives you +2. It's a plus single use, it's just a one-off, but gives you a +2 modified to the casting roll. With the Law of the Lady, there is a spell that gives them a 6-up regeneration on a 7+, or a 5-up regeneration on a 10+. That spell, I always take as a signature spell of her, and it's just brilliant on the Grail Knights. So if you can get that off on a 10+, which you should be able to at least one turn with the Sacrament of the Lady anyway, although it's not, it's easy enough when she's level 4. They have a 3-up save. They have a 5-up/6-up ward save, depending on how strong the attack is coming in. And then hopefully they've got at least a 5-up regeneration. So that makes this really valuable, expensive unit very, 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 very survivable, which is great. So you have the Grail Knights and the Duke. He's on a 2-up rerolling ones. They're on a 3-up, 5-up/6-up/5-up or 6-up. So they just become really, really, really difficult to kill. The Pegasus Knights I've found to be insanely good for Bretonians. There's something that I missed for ages with the Pegasus Knights, and that was that they get an extra attack, their Furious Charge. So Pegasus Knight and First Knight only, not the actual Pegasus. So that gives them an extra attack when they charge. Actually, first 2 games I didn't realise that, and I thought, oh, these guys are good. But getting that extra attack when they charge is great, particularly because they also have counter charge. So often you're charging. Even if something is charging you, you're charging back, so you're getting an extra attack. I found the Pegasus Knights, a unit on each flank, is really, really, really good and helps just narrow in your opponent and bunch up their formation. This unit can be great for just hunting those war machines and trying to get round the back and flank charging. So first module is that Duke and the Grail Knights that are going to either the slight left or right deployment, and I've got a unit of Pegasus Knights and a unit of Pegasus Knights out on the extremes, really, 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 really wide. Make them very, very difficult for my opponent to deal with by going as wide as possible. In the middle of my army, I have this big block of 32 men-at-arms. Now, you might look at this list and go, what? You've got like 32 men-at-arms and then loads of knights. Like, these guys are only movement 4, whereas this lot are like movement 8 and 7. Like, this doesn't make any sense. But a big, chunky unit of men-at-arms right in the middle is actually really good at just chunking forward and just absorbing something and dropping back to try and expose the flanks of your opponent. Sure, they're only movement 4, but that doesn't rule them out of getting involved in the game. They're a unit that's 177 points, but just incredibly difficult to break. They have the Triptych, which gives them stubborn. I'm sure they've got stubble as well. I mean, they're unshaved, messy peasants. But they also have Shield Wall, so once per game during a turn in which they were charged, a unit with this special rule that is arrayed in a close order formation that's equipped with and chooses to use shields may give ground rather than fall back in good order. So this unit can, for its points, can be really wide, and I have them 8 wide, and just really absorb a lot in the middle of the board. Often people put some of their strongest stuff in the middle just naturally. People just deploy by putting like strong stuff in the middle. This will just go straight forward and kill everything in its path. So having like a chunky, cheap unit opposite that can try and bring them in is great. And remember, what you don't have to do with your knights is fling them forward as far as possible straight away. If you've got war machines that are on you and you need to engage the enemy, then that's fine. You might only have the option of going forward. But a lot of lists have only got like 1 or 2 war machines. So really, the way in which you don't have to just rush to the enemy as quickly as possible. So if you've got like the Grail Knights and the Duke pushing one flank, you've got the Pegasus going really, really wide, far down and as wide as you can. You're kind of pulling your opponent into this sort of like just chunky centre of men-at-arms. Because you're pushing really wide. The Duke and the Grail Knights are moving up. You've got a unit of mounted Knights of the Realm with the Paladin in, and another unit of Knights of the Realm that can sit either side of those men-at-arms, ready to just come in and flank charge anything that comes at the men-at-arms. Or maybe just go in nice and early and allow the men-at-arms to kind of follow up just to hold something down. But it gives a really nice, reliable centre. The 5 mounted Knights of the Realm I've put in with the Paladin. So that's why they're one less rather than 6. So I have the Paladin in with 5 mounted Knights of the Realm. I don't put a standard or anything on him. If you wanted to tinker around with the... Oh, sorry, no, I do. I've got the banner of Shalon. Sorry, I forgot. Enemy units cannot declare stand and shoot. Charge reaction against carrying. Which was pretty good for these. Knights don't like getting shot generally, and it just kind of switches off annoying stand and shoot reactions, which is quite cool. So these 2 units kind of sit either side of the men-at-arms and just kind of like push and hold that centre. The Peasant Bowmen, what I do with these is I stand them in front of the 3 Pegasus Knights on each flank. So I have unit of Pegasus Knights on the left flank, unit of Pegasus Knights on the right flank, and then just put 12 Bowmen in front of each of them, because Pegasus Knights can just fly over, and these guys just stand still all game and just rain arrows from either side. The Peasant Bowmen are kind of fine, they're all right. You want to just be clearing crappy screens or whatever else and just try to mop up, but you know, over a full course of a game, you get a bit of use out of them and a bit of work. There are some games where they could screen as well and stand in front of the men-at-arms or stand in front of the knights if you're worried about something coming absolutely flying at you early on. It really depends on what you're playing. But I found this list to be much more effective than the first list I wrote, which had way too many mounted Knights of the Realm, and I'd kind of dropped these men-at-arms. But I really, really like that central blob of men-at-arms. I have them 8 wide, and I really like the combination of the Duke with the Grail Knights, the Pegasus Knights on either flank, 2 units of Knights, and the Bowmen. Sure, it's a lot of melee. Obviously wants to get in, you know, he obviously wants to get in combat. It's not like I've got the lip full of trebuchets or whatever and sat at the back. That's going to be a future project. But I found it's a really fun list to play. It has lots of options. It might benefit at some point from maybe a level 2 wizard goes in there. I've found that magic is really strong in Old World, so maybe like having a level 2 knocking around would be quite useful and effective. But I'm really enjoying playing this list. I think it's good on the tabletop. I think it utilises stuff that comes in the Bretonnian box anyway. You know, you've got to get Grail Knights, another 3 Pegasus Knights, you know, a Paladin. You could just convert one of these. You could just paint one up really nice. Say it's a Paladin. The Prophetess is easy enough to either get from GW or get a resin print. So it's not an absolute nightmare to collect or anything. It's all stuff that Bretonnian players should have, and it's really fun to play on the table. I really enjoy it. So I just wanted to do a video updating people on that list. Hopefully very soon I'll have it on stream. We'll be playing some games on the stream, so keep an eye out for that. Like and subscribe, and let us know in the comments below how your list building is going, whether it be Bretonnian or anyone else. Yeah, thanks for watching the show. I'll see you next time.